Alright, I'm going to be replacing the belt that snapped off here on the alternator. Actually, while I'm in here, I'm going to do all three of the belts. So I'm going to do the alternator belt, I'm going to do the power steering belt, and the AC compressor belt, which is a little hard to see from here. First thing I'm going to have to do is take off this this like skid plate. So just hit these bolts a little bit with some PB Blaster. Skid plate bolts are 12mm. They impact pretty easily. Alright, there's three bolts in the front, which I've removed, and then in the back of the skid plate there's two more all the way back here. I'm gonna have to take these out with just a regular ratchet because my impact doesn't fit under here. But really helpful, it gives you more room to remove this airbox here. So all you got to do is hit this 12mm, that 12mm down there, and that one there, and then pull this clamp, pull this little plug, this electrical plug, and a clip. Okay, so to get the power steering pump, we're gonna have to first get this bolt here, and the way you do that is to access it through a hole in the power steering pump pulley. The hole isn't aligned right now, so maybe I'll just cut this belt and turn the wheel a little bit since I'm replacing the belt anyway. There's a sliding bracket for adjustment to put the tension on. So there's a bolt here that goes into the bracket, and then behind that, right here, this threaded rod has a bolt head over here that you can't really access from this angle, but that puts the tension on. To get to that, we're gonna have to come from around this side to access that tension bolt. Yep, so to get to this top bolt, you just go through the pulley. So I just cut the belt off since I'm replacing it anyway. 14mm deep socket on a ratchet, and then I got a little bit of a cheater bar here to help me turn it. And it's moving. Okay, so here's power steering pump. This is 14mm. Had to hit this with some PB Blaster, and definitely some of the PB Blaster got on the AC pump pulley, which is like underneath there. So I'll have to make sure to clean all that off with like brake cleaner, spray everything with brake cleaner so the belt don't slip. Okay, so for the AC compressor belt, I'm not going to be doing anything with the AC compressor itself. Instead, I'm going to be working with this this tensioner pulley, and there's a bolt underneath here, right here. This is the 14mm bolt head, and there's a tensioning thread that runs up there, so I need to loosen that. I hit it with PB Blaster. It's pretty seized up, can't get it to move yet, and kind of frustrating because this this frame member, this subframe member here, I can't get an extension with a socket straight onto this thing. It's at like a weird angle. It's like almost there, but I really just can't get it in there. So I'm using just a short ratchet with a 14, and you got to kind of like wedge it in here and get onto this bolt head, and then you really don't have much movement here. Okay, this is the bracket that the AC compressor mounts to. So this mounts to the block. Snapped off this tensioner piece right here, as you can see. So I had to remove the whole assembly, and this thing is completely seized. It's just not budging out of this at all. So I'll have to like cut this thing out. Okay, I hit this thing with the torch, hot wrench style, and it's loose now. But the threads are pretty crushed here on the back end, like over here. So I'm just going to hit this with a cut-off grinder, cut this off so I only have to back out a little bit of this bolt and it doesn't get stuck in there. I'm going to try and save these threads, and hopefully I can just get a replacement long bolt here. Okay, so I cut off the back end of the bolt with the cut-off grinder. Now we'll see if we can just back this out. Okay, so I need basically the bolt that goes into that tension, that adjusts that tensioner that was seized in there. I need something that has full threads, and I don't have a bolt with full threads, but I do have this like grade 8. This is a grade 8 bolt with, you know, partial threading, and this is a M8 by 1.25 pitch. So I'm just gonna cut the rest of the threads in so I can keep going on the project here. New bolt. You can see that the this is how the tensioner is supposed to work. Tension adjustment. So okay, so this is where the pulley, tension pulley goes. There's actually two sides to this thing. It has the retaining clip where the bearing could come out. So this like closed side goes on this way, and then there's a little cover that came off of this thing that goes on the side with the retaining clip, so it kind of fits on like that. Okay, had to really sort of push this compressor as far forward as possible, and when I do that you can get a little better view of the bolts for this bracket. And I had to use my wobble extension to really to reach them all. It looks like they're kind of like straight on from here, but you actually have to kind of, there's a little bit of an angle, so yeah, just use, you know, a wobble extension like this. This is the bracket, so this tension bolt here is what was seized and the head broke off on mine. So to get this unfrozen behind here, there's you know, this is like a long threaded bolt that goes through here. It was completely frozen in there. Again, I busted the head off of it, so I had to take this whole bracket out, and the bracket kind of wraps around the side here, and there's 4 bolts that you can access through the driver, sorry, the passenger side fender well, and remove this whole bracket is which I did. To remove the compressor from the compressor bracket, there's 4 12mm bolts. See the 2 of them that I've loosened on the top of the compressor, they're backed out pretty much all the way. Those are 12mm. From underneath there's 2 more. One here and then one way in the back. Okay, so this is the tensioner for the alternator, and this bolt also sheared. So I'm gonna need to I hit it with PB Blaster real good. I let it sit for a while, and still just frozen in there. So I'm gonna hit it with the torch, get it out, and then looks like I'll probably have to make another bolt to replace this one. Okay, and now the power steering pump tensioner has broken. So that's all 3 tension bolts. All 3 of these have broken. Okay, so I put in used my die set and made a new tension bolt. So now we're just tightening up the bolts for The power steering pump, got the new belt on. You can see you can go through the pulley itself, the power steering pump pulley, and get the top bolt right through the pulley. There's a hole there as long as you line it up, and this is just a standard 14mm deep socket. Fits quite well. And then actually when it's lined up, you don't have to undo this lower bolt, but this, you can go through the wheel and get to this one as well. And then this guy you can just get by squeezing between the two pulleys. Right here, it's another 14mm, and this is the one that has the tension bolt going through it. So I've got a new tension bolt back there. It's hard to see, but you get to that bolt on this side. I removed the airbox, makes it a little easier. Kind of hard to see down there. There she is. That's the new bolt, and it's a little rough getting down into that area. So removing the airbox made it a little easier. Alternator, you got to loosen this. That's 14mm. We're looking from underneath here on the alternator. You got this 12mm. You loosen this up so that this thing can slide on the bracket, and then there's the tension bolt, which you can get to from the wheel well. Mine was seized, so to put a new one in there. But yeah, so there's basically, you want to loosen that 12mm on the face, and then you can loosen the tension bolt, and the alternator will move for you. Okay, so here you can see the this is the bolt where the tension pulley goes on for the AC compressor, and tensions the belt, because like the belt goes around the AC compressor, which is just this is bolted like right to the bracket, and the bracket's bolted to the block, so there's no adjustment there, right? So and then the other thing is the crank pulley. So you need something to add tension, and it's part of this bracket. You can see like this bolt here, and here's the bolt that you'll use to adjust the tension. So you can see. Try and get a shot here. So you can see, like, as you adjust this bottom bolt that I'm hitting with my finger, it'll add the tension, and there's like a little wheel pulley that goes on there. I need to get a new one, that's why I don't have it on here now. The bearing seemed kind of shot on it, so I wanted to get a new one so it's not, I think it might have been squeaking or something. So I'm gonna do that, and then I should pretty much be done. So it's been a little bit longer than I expected, but ultimately all the new belts are on. The alternator and the power steering pump belts are tightened, and I'm pretty much ready to go. I got to get that pulley, and I can just slip this thing back on. I can slip the pulley on and adjust the tension right here, and I should be pretty much good to go from there.